guys? Anakin back again today for my next installment in my Road to Infinity War series, and I got Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, this is another one of the big ones that I've been waiting and anticipating to rewatch forever because this is hands down up there with one of my favorite MCU and superhero movies of all time. Especially in the MCU, I cannot convey how much, not only do I love this movie, but how great and how much of a place this movie has in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, because when you really think about it, this was the biggest risk Marvel has ever taken, period. There is no other movie that ever came close to the risk that this movie was, because you can say Doctor Strange was a bigger risk or the Avengers, but no. When we're talking that with the Avengers, it was a huge risk of bringing 4 franchises together, but we all knew who those characters were. You wanted me to care about a talking raccoon in a tree. If you can, they wanted us to do that, and 2 of the people were green and gray. If you want to count, he's supposed to be gray. But you're telling me that they were able to do that? Just that sentence alone, and the fact that we actually care, that in itself makes me know that this movie was a success. That's how great of a job Marvel did, because we were able to actually take a look at all these characters that we knew nothing about in a universe and a different side of the galaxy that we knew nothing about. We had never seen the cosmic universe aside from Thor, and that really didn't even count as a cosmic universe. And you drop us right in the middle with Peter Quill, Gamora, Rocket, Groot, Drax, and we have no idea who they are. And what are they doing? They're being themselves, and they're criminals. You drop us into right in a band of misfits and criminals, which is great. I love how James Gunn portrayed the Guardians in this movie, because it's not like, at first, it's not like we're following the regular typical superheroes. We're just trying to follow these guys that are trying to get out of jail. They're trying to sell off the orb and try and make money. No. But by the end of it, they become actual full-fledged heroes, and to say oh, well, I don't got that long a lifespan anyway, let's go save it. In that end speech with Star-Lord, I loved the arc that James Gunn set these characters on, because not only did every single one of them have a great particular arc in themselves to have to go through. I loved it. And not alone, I love all of these characters so much. Let's start off with Star-Lord. I'm a fan when I loved freaking Chris Pratt when he was on Parks and Rec. I was a diehard Parks and Rec fan, so I was a diehard Andy Dwyer and Mousetrap fan. So I knew exactly, I knew when he was the big fat dude and he's just an idiot. He's just no. But and you tell me that that's gonna be Star-Lord, you already got me hooked in already. Already it's a different Marvel movie, but then you throw in Chris Pratt in there. Oh my god, yes, dude. He is so funny in this movie, and the fact that he got super jacked with this movie, but at the core he's still Chris Pratt, which I love, because he's still Star-Lord, which is what we all know and love him today. But this was his first big movie, and that was awesome to see him just kick it out of the water, and to have James Gunn just let him go free rein as far as the humor goes, and to let him be Chris Pratt. I love the opening shot where it's all serious, and he walks down, and you get this awesome helmet, he takes it off, and then he grabs the Awesome X Volume 1 and hooks it on his belt, and then he's just boom, and then he just starts dancing to Come and Get Your Love, and I remember watching that, and I'm yes, he would be just dancing around and just moving around and touching the skeleton of a Beta Ray Bill being yes, that is exactly what Chris Pratt would do, and it was so awesome. And even with this dialogue, that Sonny Heenan said a word through that, and his dialogue is Ninja Chordy, you better stop poking me. Brilliant. I love Star-Lord in this movie, and the fact that he's the character that you may think that maybe want to do more ruthless Guardians, but then you meet Rocket and Gamora, but at first you're oh, but he's still a thief at heart, he's still an outlaw, but at the end of it, he's the one who's telling everyone to Ronan is about to kill millions of billions of innocent lives. I for one will not stand by and watch. And to bring the Guardians together. And he's even if it's 11% of a plan, he still has a plan to save all these people. I loved his arc. Now let's talk about Gamora, the daughter of Thanos. I've been saying forever, I wanted Zoe Saldana in a Marvel movie, and she finally got her chance, and she is green, and she is awesome. I freaking love Gamora in this movie. It's the quintessential, when you think of the women of the MCU, only in one movie, and she broke through there, and she was on top of the pedestal with the woman of Marvel Universe, with Black Widow, and Gamora was right there next to her. I love Zoe Saldana with the character, and I love the relationship you had with Nebula and Thanos. Like, you don't actually get to see him on screen with Thanos, but like, I loved, like, he's like, and you alienated my favorite daughter, Gamora. Like, yes, like, I couldn't have asked for anything better than that. Like, and it doesn't help that she's Zoe Saldana, so she's perfectly capable to pull off all of her action scenes. She's perfectly capable to like pull off like the really like the like not like oblivious, but she's not taking any Peter's crap. Like, she's not taking it at all, and I love that. I thought that was really great. Now let's move on to Drax.
His people are completely literal. Metaphors are gonna go over his head.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
Like, I will say though, the one problem that I think me and my dad have a problem with Drax's character is that he's a completely different character from the comics. In the comics, Drax is ruthless. Drax is like, he is like the one person in the galaxy you do not want to like mess with, because he straight up went behind Thanos and ripped his heart out. So just that alone is like, okay, like, and then we get somebody's like, metaphors that go on my head, I will catch it. Like, he's like, why would I put his finger on his throat? Like, I get what they were doing, but I will give it this. Dave Bautista plays this version of Drax spectacularly. I love this version of Drax. Drax is hilarious. Drax is funny. And then not only that, you get to see more ruthless Drax, like when he's beating up all the Sakaran soldiers. I love that. Great. It's not the comic version of Drax that I was hoping for, but it is still a character that works in the MCU and is super funny. And when they got to Guardians 2, they nailed his humor perfectly. Dave Bautista was awesome in this movie. Now, Rocket.
I live for the simple things. Like how much this is gonna hurt.
Yeah, right, little man.
I was so anticipating how they're going to do Rocket, because one, Rocket was going to be a fully CGI character. I want to see if they could actually pull me in, which they did. And I loved that I got to see the same exact character in the comics get transferred into the movies, of his cockiness and that he really doesn't care and that he's just a loudmouth. And I love that, because like, you see him like throughout the entire movie just like talking trash to Groot and not really caring. And then like by the end of it, he's like, I called him an idiot. Like, he genuinely felt really sad, and I think Bradley Cooper's voice was like pretty perfect, spot on. So I think like it matched like the smart aleck and just like the eager, like just like, I hate doing on this. Like, I loved it. It was great. Now let's talk about Groot. Groot, voiced by Vin Diesel himself, the man of family. And man, Vin Diesel, he can do a lot with, Vin Diesel, he really can't do a lot with his acting, so I can understand why they would only give him a character that can only say 3 words. So, and I love that he's like, I am Groot, like, the way they variations of that, so freaking funny. I loved and a lot of the levity comes from Groot, but a lot of the heartfelt moments come from Groot, whether he's like standing in the cave and like the things kind of out of his hand, whether he's giving the flower to the girl, like a lot of heartfelt moments came from Groot. And I loved how his sacrifice really meant something at the end. Even though he came back, his sacrifice really did mean something, and you felt it, and you were like, wow, like, you guys actually made me care about a tree. And like that's really hard to do. Like, that's insanely hard to do, especially since these last 2 characters that have been completely CGI. And I love that James Gunn was able to write a character that was so enduring, but yet he only spoke 3 words and we cared that much about him. So great. Now, let's talk about the villains of this movie. And first off, I'm going to kick it off with Nebula. Nebula was cool. She got a way better arc in the second movie, but she was just like cannon fodder or whatever, like just someone to go up against Gamora in the movie, which I thought she was cool. I thought it was fine. I didn't have that big of a problem with it. Ronan. A lot of people give Ronan crap. I really like Ronan as a villain. Is he the greatest Marvel Universe villain? No. Is he the worst, though? That's probably where it's like, no, he's not the worst either. He kind of falls in that category in the middle where he wasn't bad, but he wasn't great. So that's my piece on Ronan. But Thanos! Dude! Easily one of the best parts of this movie is seeing Thanos for the first time.
The only matter I do not take seriously, boy, is you. Your politics bore me. Demeanor is that of a pouty child, and apparently, You alienated my favorite daughter, Gamora. I shall honor our agreement, Kree, if you bring me the orb. But return to me again empty-handed, and I will bathe the Starways in your blood.
It's like, the only matter I do not take seriously, boy, is you. Like, oh, and seeing him and like Josh Brolin, you could feel Josh Brolin's presence and like, oh, dude, so great. Like, especially back then, this was like August of 2014. You're like, oh my god, like I know this is coming. Like we know Thanos is coming, and like to actually finally see him, oh, I loved it. I think that scene is one of my favorite in all Marvel history. Period. I love that scene. That scene is so. You can tell I love this movie just as like how excited I am. Now, let's move on along to. Let's see. Let's go on with the plot. I think I kind of touched over the plot a little bit, but I like the aspect of them being more gung-ho, more just interested about the money, but at the end of it, when they all have to want to save Xandar, it was really heartfelt because you really got to feel like these characters are mentally and bad characters, but by the end of it, they get to be really good characters in the end, and they get to become heroes in the end. Oh, Yondu! Love Yondu in this movie. I love Michael Rooker because I love The Walking Dead and I love seeing him in a big budget movie. And oh my god, I loved him in the second one too. But I'll talk about that one when it gets along. But now, this was the first big movie. Well, okay, not the first big movie, but where they keep egging on the Infinity Stones. We got a huge explainer for the Infinity Stones in this movie with, i.e., the Collector. And dude, like just sitting in that theater, I remember just looking whenever he's like, before creation itself, like when he did that, I remember my eyes were glued to the screen. I don't think I blinked for that whole like 3 minutes of that exposition of like just looking at all the screen and looking at all the stones, finding out where everything was, and like where there was like the Celestials destroying a planet. Dude, like my eyes were glued to the screen, just wanting to indulge more of what the Infinity Stone was and what was coming when we are gonna hit Infinity War. Like I was just looking and like, oh dude, like I know it's coming, like I wanna see the stones, man. But like I also want to give it to James Gunn for building a world that you can tell that. I remember one of the biggest things I was wondering about, how are they gonna address space in the Marvel Cinematic Universe when that's never been addressed before. I love that they made every world they went to, and I love that they made space feel like its own separate entity in the Marvel Universe, but it can still feel like it exists. And I'm not saying that like it's like, oh, this is like, it's like a pocket universe. No, it really did feel like it would fit in the same exact Marvel Universe. You really did feel like that the Earth that Peter was on, that you can know that Tony Stark will be on that Earth. And I really loved it. I loved all the costumes. I loved all of the design and the production design that all went into crafting with the world of the early cosmic universe that the Guardians reside in. I loved it. I could not be happier with what they did as far as that. Now, I think I'm gonna go off with my favorite scene in this movie is at the end where Peter Quill, he's like when he's about to like Thanos, or not Thanos, when Ronan's giving his big grand speech and he's about to destroy, he's like, ooh, child, things are going. Like I was like thinking, I'm like, oh, he's about to destroy the planet. Like, no, and then freaking Chris Pratt's just like dancing. He's like, listen to these words. Like, settle, take it back. Dude, like, great. But it also leads into one of my favorite, like, just hero moments in general is when he catches the stone and he gets them all, and they all swarm around and touch him to transfer the energy. And he's like, "You're immortal, how?" He's like, "You said it yourself. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy." Like, I love that. It's instantly my favorite scene in this movie, and I could not be happier. Now, you cannot talk about Guardians of the Galaxy without talking about Awesome Mix Volume 1. You cannot talk about it. This soundtrack for me was insane because the music I listen to is limited to very selective few rappers, very selective few rock, and very selective few, very occasionally Adele, do not judge me, she has a beautiful voice, and scores and soundtracks. Now, when you give me a soundtrack that is as good as this, when you give me even there's songs that I've never heard of, and there's songs that my grandpa used to listen to when he was like in his, I'm not gonna make it feel old here, God, but when he was in that time. But when you give me those songs and that they can come on to us, and the fact that everyone in the 2014 loved this soundtrack so much it reached #1 on the Billboard list. Dude, I love every single song in this album. That's the reason why I have so many and have made so many Walkmans, and that is instantly one of the few select songs that can actually make me dance, because I hate dancing. I don't like dancing. I can listen to any one of those songs and dance to it. So I love this movie. I love what James Gunn was able to do, introducing the Marvel Cinematic Universe to the cosmic side of it. I loved every single one of the characters, and I cannot believe that we're going to finally see them cross over. And I gotta tell you, man, I just love seeing Chris Pratt be a superhero. Alright. My next one is going to be Avengers Age of Ultron. And I can say right now, these are not just going to be 15-minute long videos now, I bet. Like, this is just going to keep going on forever. I'm gonna cut this one off right here. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. And remember, guys, we are Groot. I'll see you guys next time.